A demographic summit was held at the University of Moscow, where policies that came out of that demographic summit resulted in the passing of many new initiatives in support of the family, such as a government-paid 6-month maternity leave, a cash payment equivalent to 7,000 euros given to a family on their second child's 3rd birthday. And so they needed to make it to that 3rd birthday. A monthly subsidy of food and daycare services were provided. Upon a family having a 3rd child, they were entitled to land ownership, a farm, or house subsidies or rent. They also placed a sin tax on those performing abortions and those having abortions, along with placing major restrictions on abortions after 12 weeks. When policymakers come to understand the economic connections, then they do elevate the value that they place on children, marriage, faith, and family in society. So what is the economic solutions? Is strengthening and fortifying the family the answer? Yes, you got to think so.
Tradition holds that throughout history, the family has been the fundamental unit of society. It was within newly formed families that a majority of men and women met their most basic needs. It was within families that the next generation was born and raised. Groups of families became cultures, and combined cultures became civilizations. And human civilizations were sustainable because at their foundations were families, which could replenish themselves as older generations passed away. But what if, at the very time that our entire civilization no longer values families, we begin to realize how important they really are? And what if the traditions about families were correct?
The Universal Declaration of Human Rights was the first statement ever issued by the United Nations.
It's a document that was signed by all the countries in the world essentially at that time, and it was non-controversial.
You'll see that it says the following: the family is the natural, fundamental group unit of society and is entitled to protection by the state.
In 1948, families were seen as so fundamental to society that major nations of the world vowed to protect them. But by 1968, many of us had begun to assume that there would always be plenty of others. In fact, too many others, willing to marry and to bear and raise children. But were too many children born?
Another changing demographic that needs to be understood by policymakers is that young adults from around the world in their prime childbearing years are less likely to get married and have children. The research shows statistically that there is an increased number of babies being born outside wedlock. The findings show that children being born and reared without a mother and father in the home is more likely to try drugs, to live in poverty, to be abused, to be sexually active, to drop out of school, to need daycare services, to need government welfare services, showing that family fragmentation comes at a huge cost to governments worldwide, which raises the question, if having both a mother and father in the home is the ideal, shouldn't we as a society be reaching for that ideal? In May of 2017, while in Budapest, Hungary, speaking at the World Congress of Families 11, the Prime Minister of Hungary, Viktor Orbán, stated that their country had experienced a 10% decline in populations over the last 10 years, expressing his concern that the effects that it would have on their economy, stating that the Hungarian government was prepared to implement new and aggressive family policies, which would hopefully encourage strong and larger families. In the session in which I spoke in Budapest, I turned to the cabinet minister, stating that we had coined the word demographic winter, and as such was using it to strengthen and fortify the natural family worldwide, and that other countries around the world were starting to use demographic winter as a government initiative and was funding it accordingly.